Welcome to the Grapple Theory podcast. A happy late Valentine's Day to you. We've got two very special guests here on the podcast who are here to talk all things love and wrestling because it's always intermixed here in Brit Rest. Welcome to the podcast, Mark Haskins, Vicky Haskins. Guys, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
It's great to see you guys. Obviously, Valentine's Day just gone. What are you guys like plans? Are you big romance people? Are you big on Valentine's Day?
No, we're very unsociable people, to be honest with you. We just kind of disappear to a quiet corner of the world and, try and avoid everybody, to be
Yeah, it's
real.
not really a day for big gestures. It's kind of just... I see Valentine's Day as a reminder to make that time for the person you love, whoever it is, whether it's friends, family, whatever. It's just like... how can I put it? A commercial ploy to make money. But the incentive is, remind yourself to take some time today and remember those loved ones.
No, I love that. Yeah, I get that. Also, me and my partner are very unsocial people as well. So, that's something I respect as well. You don't need to go out and do that. That's more awkward, if anything. Going out when it's busy and packed and oh, no.
Oh, it's hell. It's absolutely
Can't do it. Can't deal with it. Who has time? Who has the time?
I definitely don't have time for that.
Do you guys have any sort of certain specific favourite Valentine's memories or things that you do or a past day where you've been oh, that was a really good one?
I don't remember a single Valentine's Day.
I can't remember. I feel really bad. It's bad because we obviously we make a huge deal of Christmas and everything like that, but when it comes to Valentine's Day, I've never been one for big materialistic gestures or stuff like that. I find that really cringe just because I don't know what to do. Someone fills a room with balloons. I'm like, oh, this is really awkward.
Oh, surprise stuff is the worst.
I can't deal with it. I'm just it's cool, man. We can we have a nice, we always spend the evenings together anyway, don't we? So we're just making an extra special effort to, we might watch a film together or, if we wanted to go out, we'll probably go for get a coffee and go for a romantic drive. Where we live is beautiful, so we're quite lucky that we've got that on our doorstep. But it's about the time together rather than the crap you can give each other.
Well, again, I think especially because we've spoken to a few other couples here on the podcast about the fact that obviously you guys sort of work together a lot as well, and when you're doing that and you're on the road and you're at shows and stuff, it's really lovely to be able to work together, but sometimes you want that just downtime together as well where you can just sort of be yourselves and chill out a bit as well.
Yeah, you need to remember to, I think any couple, but especially if you're working together as well as much as we do. I mean, we are literally in each other's pockets all the time, aren't we? It's really important to go, okay, chill out and just be normal people. You don't have to be, the fighter and the manager or the model. And, it's that you don't have to be under anything. You just have to be yourselves.
So are you telling me you guys aren't in character all the time?
I mean, there's really not that much of a difference.
It's not. It's really not.
I kind of cruise at 90 anyway, so it's it's really not that much of a difference.
It's a really fine line that's been blurred the longer I've played her. I always kind of said that she's my Sasha Fierce. If I don't feel confident, I'll embody her and be okay, what would Vic Haskins do? The character. But I think I've been in more instances as I've gone through life where she's kind of come through and I'm thinking, oh shit, I've got to leave her behind. I've got to be me, normal me now.
Especially when it comes to, talking to teachers at, at your kid's school and, some kid's been bullying your kid and, you have to keep that inner monster on a leash, do you know what I mean? Because it's so easy for it to overspill. And I've seen the look of genuine fear in the teachers' faces when Vic comes storming back into school with, one of our kids by the hand is I want to talk to you. And it's oh no, she's about to get the worst treatment.
I don't have barbed wire back with me though, so that's good. I don't have any weapons.
I was going to say, I'm not sure how I'd feel as a school teacher if it was parents' evening and you hear your theme music playing and you two storm through the door Vicky's got the bat as well. Do you know what I mean? Just really make the most of it. It'd be terrifying.
I should do that one day.
Yeah, I mean,
our
and
kids
it's
would
terrifying.
be mortified, wouldn't they? They'd be oh my God, what are you doing?
But our kids are strangely proud of us because our daughter was talking to her class the other day. I was at a show later that day and she was like, tonight my daddy's going to beat somebody up. And they were like, oh, is that because he's a wrestler? And she's like, yes. And on Sunday he's going to beat more people up. And it's like, Lily, what have you gone into school and said? You know, like, it's... Yeah.
At least she said yes, though. She said no, that's a lot more worrying. Like, is that because he's a wrestler? No, he just enjoys it. He just gets the kick out of it.
Yeah, he's going to have a few drinks and just, go out on the town and...
But that's good. It's good to be proud of. I mean, like, again, like, you guys generally are, like, cool as shit anyway. So, like, I feel like that's something you should be proud of.
Though. I think we've grown up being, like, I say grown up, we're not grown up at all. That's a complete facade.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Sometimes I worry. I'm just like...
I say to my kids that the adult, like... When people go and find an adult, I was like, there's no such thing. Everyone's fucking winging it. Yeah. And we're just like overgrown children. But yeah, I forgot where I was going with that.
No, I get it though. Because like, again, like the older you get, I'm still like, I feel like, I mean, technically I'm an adult, but I don't feel like an adult. Like, I'm nearly 30 and I'm like, am I nearly 30? Like, it just sounds, do you know what I mean?
It sounds really daunting, doesn't it? You're like, oh my God, because we're like 35. And I keep having to ask him, I'm like, how old am I this birthday? Like, that doesn't make sense. In my head, I'm like, I'm still 22.
It gets worse as you get older, though, because, like, the difference between 30 and 35 feels like a lot.
Oh, good. I'm glad I have that to look forward to.
Mate, it gets so much worse. So much worse. Like, so just for context, the other day I wrestled... Jordan Oliver, right? Who's blowing up, making a big name for himself.
Yeah.
Awesome, incredible talent, got a bright future, right? He was talking to me, and he was saying like, man, I'm excited. I used to pretend to be you when I used to backyard wrestle. And I was like, how old are you? He's like, I'm 24. I'm like, that's even worse. Like, I was a dad at 24. You know what I mean? So like, or like I was speaking to Nick Wayne and he was like, I used to watch you when you were at PWG, like when I was 10 years old. I was like, that didn't feel like it was that long ago. And now you're a real person. Like, get these children out.
Oh, it sucks, doesn't it? It really sucks. Like, again, I've had it recently. Like, we've had like Leon Slater on the podcast a couple of times, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, Leon's cool. Like, I'm not that far off his age, and then I have to take a step back and be like, actually, I'm quite far off his age. Like, he is significantly younger than me.
Yeah. And he's a great dude as well, man. He's awesome. I mean, he's only like 18 or 19.
Yeah.
And this year,
I thought he was 21.
No, he's so much younger, which makes it all the more heart destroying. That this year I will have been wrestling 18 years. Yeah. So to put that into context, I've been wrestling almost as long as he's been.
Yeah, alive. Like literally, he was 1 year old when you started wrestling.
Horrendous, absolutely horrendous. I remember years ago, I was on a show with Jerry Lynn, and Jerry Lynn was wrestling Noam Dar, right? And it was only in this Q&A beforehand that Jerry Lynn realized that he'd been wrestling longer than Noam had been alive. And now I'm the Jerry Lynn in this equation. The longer I'm around, the more I realize I'm like, oh no, I'm the old guy. Like, people keep, especially since the pandemic, people keep referring to me as like, oh, the guys from your generation. I'm like, what do you mean my generation? I'm not some clapped out motor. I'm still going.
It's still my time.
Yeah.
God damn it.
You only hit your prime when you reach your mid-30s. Yeah. It's like, my generation. Like, I'm not hobbling around on a Zimmer frame. Like, come on. Yes.
But I get it. That is how, like, again, like, that is... I think, who do we have on? We had, like, last year on, we had Gene Money on. And he was like that, because I was like, oh, talk to me about, like, the new guys coming up. He's like, oh, I hate them all. They're so young. It sucks, like...
Yes, Gene. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm with
you.
That's the worst part. You see him being out there, like, again, like Leon or, like, Jordan or Nick Wayne. You see him doing all the shit they do, and you're like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm only a wrestling fan. I'm not even a wrestler. Like, I couldn't do what any of you do. But seeing that, I'm just like, how? Like, 18, I was like... I just sat on the couch all day doing nothing.
Yeah,
like the way I think of it is that I think that each generation is stood on the shoulders of the previous generation, right? So when you had guys of, for lack of a better term, my generation, like we were a certain standard, but then when they started teaching the new guys coming through, you're learning from like a very high tier level of guys, right? So it becomes easier to be better in a shorter period of time because of your environment. So especially, just before the pandemic, you had such a high quality of wrestler. All like when you look back at some of the shows that we did, it's just insane seeing the talents that have gone on to make bigger names for themselves elsewhere. You would have guys like Pete Dunne versus Will Ospreay. That now is like a mega match. Do you know what I mean? And that was happening just on a casual Wednesday night.
Yeah, in front of like 200, 300 people, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, exactly. So you had such a high caliber of talent, so it allowed other people who were coming up to learn that straight from the get-go. They didn't have to necessarily stumble their way through the first few years of their career like the rest of us did and make endless mistakes, even though we all still regularly do. But
I was about to say, when was that meant to stop?
You never stop learning, and that's what mistakes are. I think that it crushes a lot of people early on. They make a mistake and they think it's the end of the world, and that's not the case. Like, if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. You don't know how to adapt. You don't see, okay, maybe that isn't a good idea, or I'll do something different.
Yeah.
Do you know? But I think that this new crew that are coming through, they got better a lot quicker because they hadn't had to necessarily go through the same means that we had to when we got into the business.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting you bring that up, because I've spoken to a couple of people again on the pod about the fact that the scene, in terms of maybe things like ticket sales and like notable huge promotions maybe not being as big as they once were, isn't in the same place. But you look at like the talent there was pre-pandemic, and like again, like guys like Pete and Tyler and Brooks, who's now in Japan, and again, like you guys yourselves, and like there was like this huge amount of like top tier talent. But I feel like overall now the depth as talent is a lot better than it was pre-pandemic. I feel like there's more really, really good wrestlers than there was pre-pandemic.
What this stage right now reminds me of is like the 2012 to 2014 era, where we had that group of guys, like guys who had been abroad and been to different places, because there were groups of people like myself who'd been to Japan. There were guys who had been like Dave Mastiff, who'd been to OVW. You had guys who were going here, there, and everywhere. Rampage Brown, who'd been to FCW before it was NXT, and you had these guys who were coming back with these different experiences, and it was helping everybody sort of sharpen their own swords and develop, right? So you had this group of guys that hadn't necessarily got names for themselves yet, which is why a lot of shows during that period relied heavily on imports to bring in name value. But because there was such an influx of imports, and there was so many people going elsewhere and then coming back with that knowledge, that it allowed everybody to get better. So if you make the comparison between, say, 2014 to 2016, the two seem so far apart, because it was just around sort of late 2014 and 2015, people really started to make names for themselves. People really started to break out, and people started to switch on and be like, oh, hey, there's a ton of great guys here that are British wrestlers, and you could put on an all-British show without necessarily having imports come in. That was a wicked show. And what I think right now is that you have talent. You have so much talent that is undeniable, and within the next few years, as long as you have the right promotion behind it, those names are only going to get bigger and are only going to get better. So I think that right now it's basically, in some ways, it kind of feels like taking a step back, but you're only taking a step back to get set up ready for a sprint.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? For
sure. And again, like not to make you guys like age you guys again or anything, but like it must be nice for you guys as a couple to like sit back and hear, and again, like not just yourself, Mark, but for Vicky as well. We've had loads of people come on the pod and like talk about how much you've both like meant to them in like coming through, and like how they aspire to like be like you, and that must mean a lot. Like as like really the fact random. That
I never say that to you though. Do you know what I mean? They're always like, oh, you're right, Mark, you're right, Vic. Do you know what I mean?
They're just playing it cool though. You got to play it cool. You know what I mean? You can't go like spinning off in front of people you idolize, right? Because that's just then it looks embarrassing.
Oh, that's so funny. I find it really weird to think that people idolize us, because to be honest, I look at us and I'm like, we're the weirdest couple. Like, we are strange. We're two like weird punk rockers. Well, you were punk rockers. You were from like that never really fit in anywhere. Found wrestling, loved wrestling, then found each other, and just continued the weirdness on to adulthood, so to speak.
I feel like that's all wrestlers though, right?
Oh, we love you. We're like,
Huh?
Hi.
Yeah, hi.
I feel like that's a lot of wrestling though, right? I feel like a lot of wrestling, both in terms of like the wrestlers and the fans, is like just these people who were like outcasts before and like have found this community. And like just because like we are all just a little bit weird, right?
Oh yeah. Well, if you compare, say, for example, a wrestling crowd to an MMA crowd, it's a very different crowd. Right?
Very
And I
different.
think that, you know, like wrestling is more
Whole
in
spectrum
some way. The wrestling crowd seems more like what you would anticipate to see at, say, like a sci-fi convention.
Yeah.
Or, you know, something more along those lines, because wrestling is more theater. It's more, you know, it's this weird kind of hybrid of, you know, performance, but, you know, a sporting event in a theatrical kind of way. You know, whereas, you know, I remember we went to a boxing event that one of my friends was at, and it's just, you know, rowdy families that just want to see like somebody get stuck in a fight.
Yeah.
And I remember like they were so rowdy because you could see them having a few drinks and they're like, oh yeah, come on, Nick.
Yeah, they really got into it, didn't
like Vic turned to me at one point and she just goes, punch me and I'll sell it.
Oh, I thought it was so funny.
That would be amazing. But that's the thing, I get that. Like, I get that.
Situations like that just make me go, yeah, we're not right for the real world. We've got to stick to wrestling.
But then I don't, you know, especially, I mean, you know this because you know my family, right? But I come from like a family of oddballs, right? Of just, you know, the quiet country bumpkins. Like my dad grew up on a farm. My dad then left the farm to become a preacher for the United Church and a science teacher at a military college. So you had this guy who had two conflicting, you know, which most people would see as two very conflicting polar ends of, you know,
The spectrum.
Yeah.
basically. You know, my mum was, bless her, she was, you know, she just had normal jobs. Like, you know, at one point she was a dinner lady. At one point she worked in the post office. But there was this very kind of like country bumpkin sort of side to them. And because we spent a lot of time on my uncle's farm, there was always this sense of lawlessness, which I think is why I feel so at home in certain dressing rooms, you know, in a wrestling sense, because you do almost feel like, okay, well, you don't, you know, lawlessness in the sense of like, you don't clock in and clock out like a 9 to 5, you know, it's kind of, you turn up when you can, you know, you go out there, it's up to you to put on the job essentially that you're doing. You don't have a specific role in the sense of, okay, you have to stack this or you have to, you know, move that or whatever. It's like, go out there and, you know, create something for us.
Entertain them.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah, so there's definitely a sense that there's a lot less restrictions in terms of wrestling, and I think that suits me down to a T based on, you know, where my family's come from. So for me, I just kind of feel like, oh, I'm just kind of cracking on as usual. But then when you speak to people who, you know, other parents at our kids' school, and you suddenly realize with the blank vacant stares on their face, like, oh gosh, I'm so far removed from, you know, what is considered the norm in society.
I mean, it is a very different career because of how niche it is, right? It is automatically just a very different career that people are just like, what? Like, you make a living from that?
Yeah. People are always fascinated that that's your main income. You're like, the first thing they say, like, how? Like, how does it work? And obviously for us, I mean, we've both been doing it since we were teenagers, so it's like, it's just the norm. Like, to me, like, my best friend works a normal 9 to 5, and I found it hilarious because, like, I go in and I'm like, what are you allowed to do? What can I do to embarrass you at work?
Yeah.
No way, I'm doing shit. But yeah, it's for us, the norm is just rowdy wrestling fans and a dingy nightclub with a wrestling ring in it.
But you wouldn't trade it. You wouldn't trade it. No, you wouldn't trade it though, would you? That's the thing. Is like, that's what we love about it. It's just so far different. And that's the thing, there's something for like everyone, right? Like, I've had friends who like don't like wrestling, but like I know automatically based on what they like, what wrestling shows I take them to. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you have a friend that likes like MMA and boxing, you take them to a more like shoot style show. And if you've got a friend who like is more theatre based, you take him to like one of the weirder shows, like a Riot Cabaret or a Resurgence, where like it's just off the wall bonkers, right? And then like you know that they're going to get into it just because it's so far removed from anything they'd seen before.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the stuff that's coming out now, like Riot Cabaret,
they're a great promotion as well. I was very fortunate that I got to be a part of their first show. I was blown away at the professionalism of it. I was genuinely gobsmacked because I've done that venue before, and that venue did not feel the same way it did when they ran it. It felt like it was a different venue, and I was so impressed with how well ran it was. I was like, if this is show one, my goodness, this is real potential for how far it's going to go.
Yeah, and they have, and they've like gone on leaps and bounds. Like it just feels different, you know what I mean? Like you guys know, I'm sure you guys know. Yeah, you've been there. You remember Riptide down in Brighton when they were running. Like it feels like it felt like that.
Tried to get in the ring and fight Paul Robinson.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that's what I thought I remembered. I was like, it's definitely Riptide that I'm remembering, right?
Yeah. He came downstairs and went, some old woman has just tried to fight me, and I jokingly went, oh, that's probably my Auntie Frank.
And then he was like, no, it wasn't. We were like, what does she look like? And he's like, oh, she's got like purple hair and glasses. And we're like, oh my gosh, it really was.
I went and saw her afterwards and was like, you're not meant to get in the ring. Like, this is a performance. She goes, well, he called me a cunt.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, for God's sake.
Amazing. Oh, yeah, Riptide was great. And that's the thing, like, it felt like that. Do you know, it just felt different. It didn't feel like your conventional wrestling show. It just felt like, it just feels a bit weird, a bit out there, a bit wacky, like a show that you go to not because you're a wrestling fan, just because you want a night out.
I feel like if you go to a Riot Cabaret show, you can not be a fan of wrestling, but you can still be entertained and you can still enjoy it. Whereas there's certain other shows that are very, targeted towards a more wrestling sort of based audience.
Yeah. But again, you need both, don't you? You need the juxtaposition, because that's what makes the scene great. If every show was the same, it'd be boring.
Oh, dude, like back when we started, like that was part of the beauty and why I think it was so fortunate that we got in when we did, because in 2006, 2007, you had your companies like your 1PWs that were bringing in the mainstream kind of American guys. I remember it genuinely felt like it was just a TNA dressing room when I was when I was first there in
it very much was like an old school TNA dressing room. Whenever we had imports brought over for bigger shows, it felt very much like that. They were all. Yeah. I mean, you had like
AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Steve Corino. You had your Ulf Hermans, you had your Abyss, you had Sterling James Keenan. So it very much felt like it was the cream of the crop of the British guys at the time, and then this kind of hybrid. Former ECW, back in 2006 style TNA kind of, roster. And it very much felt different to say another company like All Star Wrestling, which was very family based. It was very pantomime. It was, a completely different style of wrestling. And then I was very lucky that I got to wrestle for Premier Promotions back in 2006 which was still, the old round style, like the British World of Sport style of wrestling. You had guys like your Blondie Barretts, your Johnny Kids, your Mal Standers.
Blondie Barrett.
That's an old name, right?
Oh my God, I worked with him when I was 16.
Do you remember Gold Belt Brian Maxine? Do you remember him? No, he was like a 60-year-old man who had a championship that he'd never lost from like the 70s or something.
They've still got guys like that. I was at a show over Christmas there because they did that show where they had Zack Sabre Jr. take on Jordan Breaks. And they had do you remember Barry Cooper?
Yes.
Like Barry Cooper was on that show wrestling. I was like, my God, how is he still going?
He's still going.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
He took this insane bump. They did a rumble to close the show. He took this mad bump over the rope. I was like, no, there's no way. He's got to win because there's no way he's getting over the top. And he took this mad bump over the top. I was like, fair play to him.
Oh my God, I love it. I love seeing the old guys, mainly because it makes me feel young. It is awesome to see. It's so nostalgic. It's
But that's the thing, is that what I do feel that the scene is kind of lacking nowadays, is that it's all become sort of one like hybrid style, whereas at least back then you learn, okay, if I'm wrestling on the camps, it's very kind of boo, yay, go out there, reserve your body, you don't have to destroy yourself physically, it's more vocally engaging. So it taught you how to wrestle a different style, and then you'd go and do, a premiere show where it would be more technical and more kind of mat-based, and then you go and do, say, like, some other shows which was kind of like that indie hybrid. So it allowed you to adapt and to change, whereas nowadays it kind of feels not necessarily like that. Like it feels like, you might have a little bit of difference in the sense of, okay, this is hardcore wrestling fans and this is more families, but the style doesn't seem to change that much, as opposed to back then. It felt like almost every promotion had its own way of doing things.
Sure, I get that for sure. Well, we've spoken a lot about like the good of the scene. We're going to get into our first little feature here on the show, where we're going to talk about not necessarily the bad, but we're going to have you expose some of the people in the locker room for who they really are. Because we've got a segment on this show called Dishing the Dirt, and so I'm going to give you some scenarios, and I want you to let me know which member of the locker room this most associates to, each thing most associates to. So, and again, you can converse, you can have different answers, it doesn't matter, however you guys want to go about it. The first one is, who's always running late?
Me.
Easy.
That's us. Because obviously we got kids. Before we start any journey, we need to drop them off an hour and a half away from us.
Oh.
So no matter where we go in the country, it could be 40 minutes up the road, we still need to take them down to grandparents. So because of that, we're always late.
Yeah, I think that's a fair excuse. I think that's a fair excuse, though, right? I think that's a fair excuse.
The parents, we can use that excuse.
Yeah, I think that people would be genuinely shocked when they see the loops and holes that we have to jump through just to get to a show. Because, we don't live near either sets of grandparents, so we have to make journeys and make arrangements to drop the kids off, and then we have to do the same after the show as well. So, while it would be easy just to drive, say, straight to Cardiff or Coventry, as we have done in the past year, which would be, about an hour or so, we've got to drive an hour in the opposite direction to then drive 2 hours back, and then the same again after the show.
Yeah. You're gonna be grateful when your kids are of the age they can just get the train themselves and you can just go off.
Yeah, and unfortunately with kids you can't just throw some food in a bowl on the floor and leave them. You have to take care of it.
Just chill out. It's all right. Couple of hours.
Leave a banana out and some water. All right.
Well, I was going to say, going off on a bit of a tangent already from this feature, I wanted to ask you about that because obviously, it's a huge undertaking to, again, blend that sort of lifestyle where you're away weekends and, again, because you work together, so you're both away normally on trips with having kids and stuff. I want to ask just generally, how, do you feel like you found the balance now? And if so, how long did it take you into that to, get to that stage where you're okay, it's hectic, but we know what we're doing with it, at least?
I think we've got to the stage where we know what we're doing, but balance is just different because with kids comes just the element of surprise. So you can be as prepared as you want to be, but somehow down the line of your trip that you've organized so well, the kids will do something that just throws a spanner in the works, and you're like, great, okay, let's deal with it. But I think the main thing with that is just having a good support system around you. So you've got friends in the area. I've got, we use Mark's mum is our babysitter. She's been amazing. We know that we can rely on her for anything. So it's with those people around us, we're okay, we've got the help. We just need to figure out the logistics of how to do this.
Yeah.
But it does mean we have to go around the houses quite a bit. But
would they prefer to come with you to the shows though? Make it a whole family trip?
Well, they have
Sometimes.
done. Yeah, they have done, and one of the last shows that they came to us with was a show in Liverpool for TNT.
Oh, yeah.
That's a wild show to take a child. I'm not going to lie, that's a mad show.
It is.
That was a great show.
It was funny because they were watching a death match as the main event, and somebody's getting hit with light tubes, and they're like, "Oh, the lights go bang," and they're having the best time. But I felt terrible because I made a return. I wrestled Robbie X, and within the first minute or two, fluke accident, I injured him. So he rolls out the ring, and he's, basically the referee comes over and says, he can't carry on. So I grab the microphone because you don't want dead air, right? So I'm there, I'm just kind of saying, oh man, it's great to be back at TNT. And the ref's just keep it going. We're getting somebody else to come out. And what happened was
stuff out.
LJ Cleary had been on, the balcony watching the match, eating some food, walked up to the promoter and said, hey, can I get my expenses? And they're like, oh, can you wrestle Haskins? And he was like, oh, at the next show? And they're like, no, now. And he's like, all right, play my music in 30 seconds. So he walks over to his bag, puts his sweating gear back on, walks out. I hadn't even known he was at the show that day.
We didn't say hello. We got there late.
Yeah. So we wrestle, and we finished the match. I beat LJ. I go to the back, and first thing, I go and find Rob, and he's with the medical team. And I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. Is your ankle okay? He's like, yeah, man, chill. Don't worry about it, right? So anyway, my son Jack comes in, and he's he's loving life right now. And he walks in, he's like, my dad's the best. He beat you, and he beat you. He's like the new Stone Cold Steve Austin. He beats everybody up. And I'm like, Jack, I love your energy, and you can carry this on in the car, but please.
He's legit injured, yeah.
please don't, just break his heart even more. Just be like, yeah, my dad fucked you up, So.
I'm sure Robbie was good about it though.
Robbie's amazing with kids, so yeah. He was brilliant, but you can't help but be like, shut
yeah, like, oh my God, no. That is brilliant though. That is brilliant. What if they came to you and said they wanted to get in the ring? Would you be cool with that?
I mean, I have to show my kids the same respect that my parents did with me, and that was that they didn't care what it was I did, but they just wanted me to, do good in the world and, not hurt anybody. And they were like, look, no matter what it is that you want to do, we might not understand it, but we'll support you in your choices. And I would do the same for my kids, and I think that if either of them were going to get into the ring, it would be Lily and not Jack. I think Jack's a smart kid, and he's never really shown that much of an interest in wrestling other than when
anything physical.
Other than when I'm led on the floor and he sees it as a great opportunity to elbow drop my ribs, So whereas Lily, she's like, yeah, I want to be a wrestler like Daddy, and I'm like, oh no,
In fact, she filmed a promo the other day. And it was after you filled your promo for Progress, and she's like, Daddy, can I do one? So we set up the light, and she just comes in and reels off this promo that's
one take,
exactly a minute long, completely in character.
The best thing though, she goes over to the cupboard, pulls out this glittery jacket, puts it on and zips it up, and she's like, yeah, right, I'm ready to go. And I was like, okay. So she storms in, and it is one of the most intense promos I've ever seen. She's talking about one of her friends at school, and at some point she just goes, I'm a killing machine, and I want you dead, and then storms off. And I was like, this girl's nailed it.
My God, she's got it already. That's it.
She's amazing. She's absolutely amazing.
It was genuinely a better promo than I think I've ever.
That would legit terrify like half the current crop in British wrestling already.
Yep.
Oh, that's amazing.
Because she looks like me, but in little girl form. So
it's like you with really curly hair and puppy dog eyes.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So,
that is amazing. That's brilliant. Well, at least you've got a strong faction to get into if the time ever comes.
Exactly, yeah.
No, I love that. Well, getting back to the dirt questions. Sorry, we're on a big tangent there. I didn't see it ending in that way. I've got to be honest. When I first went on the tangent, I was like, I didn't see it ending like that, but I think that's the best place for it to end. So the next one, to be honest, most of these questions are quite nice. This is one of only a couple that I'd say is actual like dirt, but it's only really opinion based, like everything. Who has the worst music taste?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't feel like I pay enough attention to other people to really.
I feel now I should judge what they're listening to when they're warming up.
I feel like you've always got
their phone out and go,
You've always got to. You've always got to.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna go for Moth. Because it's the complete opposite
so
to what I listen to. Like, this isn't Alice Cooper. What's this techno bullshit? I would say Moth, but...
What, you saying you wouldn't do the Moth entrance? If persuaded, you wouldn't pull off the Moth entrance?
Ooh, could she persuade me?
Yeah.
I don't want to give the illusion that she could.
Just in case, because someone will book it.
Oh, do you know what? Maybe. Pick the right venue, maybe.
Yeah. Love it.
Give me a lot of JD, then I'll be fine. Yeah.
To be fair, I feel like you need to, wouldn't you? I feel like, knowing Moth, right? She's already a few cans deep at that point anyway, so... Amazing. The next one is, who's the comedian of the locker room? Who can you always count on to make you laugh the most?
Intentionally or...
It doesn't... Intentionally or unintentionally?
Oh, I don't know.
Who makes me laugh? Rio makes me laugh so much.
Really?
It's one of those people that we actually haven't, really connected on a deep level, but guaranteed every time that she's in a locker room, we just have the dirtiest sense of humour and come up with the best shit, and we just sit there giggling to each other. But it's one of those situations where no one else gets our sense of humour. So we're just, talking absolute bollocks and giggling like schoolgirls. So
everyone's like, what the fuck are they laughing about? Yeah.
God knows what. Stupid shit. Really stupid shit.
No, I get that, because I feel like a lot I see on Twitter, and I don't know what it is about the algorithm, but all I see is like Alex Windsor and Rio like sharing terrible jokes
Alex
online.
Wins is so funny.
Like, and I'm like,
so dry. It's brilliant. She's really.
But
funny.
they share, like, they tag each other in, like, the worst dad jokes ever. It's like these dad joke pages. And what comes up on my timeline is, like, the dad joke. And underneath, either Alex or Rio has, like, tagged the other in it. And it's the most unfunny jokes I've ever seen. I'm like, my God.
Oh, I love them. Yeah, no, Alex Windsor. She's a dark horse. She really is. She's very funny. I don't know if she puts anything up online of her personal life, so people can see occasionally. But her parents, her mum is absolutely hilarious.
Really?
I sit and watch some of her stuff, the pictures, videos. It's just hilarious. She seems like the best mum, and it seems that she's very much followed in her mum's footsteps. So yeah, she's funny.
Rampage Brown's a good hoot as well.
Yes.
I always end up laughing with Rampage. We share a lot of the same sense of humour, so he's always somebody that brings a smile to my face.
Nice. I love that the three names you mentioned there are the three of like in the ring, like the stone cold, like dead, like dead face gonna actually murder you kind of like wrestlers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always find though that there's like almost like this weird counterbalance, right? Where like the only feedback that we ever get is that one, we are the nicest, sweetest, loveliest people you will ever meet. Yet as soon as we step through a curtain, we are utter psychopaths. And it's like, how are the two, you know?
I was going to say, you've got to say to those names, like the people who have come on and been like super nice about you on the podcast, be like, you're ruining our rep. What are you doing?
It just lures people into a false sense of security that they think, oh, they're lovely, they're not going to be mad, and then you see a storm out and it all goes tits up.
No, I love that. The next one is either for their match or after the show, like getting ready to leave. Who takes the longest to get ready?
Oh, don't look at me.
Vicky's
He's a nightmare. I can never get him out of bed here. Duncan, here's Duncan.
Oh, adorable. Adorable. I know we were saying off camera we've got a running trend of pets being on the podcast, so it's all lovely. Like,
this is
Duncan. He's a boy, aren't you, mate?
He's adorable. How old is he?
You'll be 2 in May.
Oh,
so he's still a pup, and he's a beautiful little bastard.
He is. He's
he gets away with so much because you can't stay angry at him.
I was gonna say, like, those eyes already. You can't. There's no way you can possibly be mad at that face, is there?
No, he's just a bundle of love. That's all he wants. He just sits there and paws you.
Like that.
Oh, that's for me. We love you,
Adorable. Who does he prefer?
I know I can be a nightmare getting out of the venue because
for someone who's not very social, he suddenly becomes everyone's best mate. And you're like, I wanted to leave. I've got to go and take a trip, then go home, to the kids, and then go home. It's gonna be 3 hours, and you're like getting into some conspiracy theory with God knows who, and then other people join the circle, and I'm just sat there waiting.
You're like, Mark, come on, go.
Trent Seven as well. I'm going to deflect blame onto him. He seems to take forever. Like if you're after a show and you're going out or something, you'll find he's still in his pants, and you're like, you were on first. How are you? Not.
He just likes being in his pants.
He just likes to lay back.
That's his comfort zone.
I feel bad at the minute. I feel like Duncan wants attention. I feel like I'm drawing you away from him. I feel like I've interrupted.
He always wants attention. This is his standard setting, isn't it?
He just sits there and contemplates life, what they say.
He'll sell you out in a second for a biscuit, though. He's an absolute food whore.
I was going to say most pets are, aren't they? Like, they get what they want and they're like, yeah, it's fine, I'm done. That was all I really wanted.
Yep, I just wanted your chicken.
Just wanted your chicken. That's all I wanted.
No, I love it. Well, it's a good thing you mentioned food, actually, because the next one is who brings the best food to the locker room? Like, whether it's their, like, pre-show meal or, like, any snacks or anything, or...
Progress.
Yeah?
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
In all fairness, I will say Nina Samuels makes the most delicious cakes ever.
Nina Samuels is the name we get more than any other. Like, her baking is top notch. Like, we had her on the show, like, last year, and I said to her, you should sell them at shows. And then she started selling them at shows, and that lost me a lot of money.
Yeah, no, she's an incredible baker. She's really good. But yeah, last time we were at Progress, they had a wonderful buffet of breadsticks.
Breadsticks and water.
Everyone wants before a match.
Yeah.
Breadsticks.
The driest food on earth, yeah.
and then some Rice Krispie squares.
Oh, I mean, squares are all right, but come on, progress, come on. You got to up your game.
Energy drink, pre-workout, protein shake.
Yeah.
Maybe some sandwiches for the lads afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that they made an effort. Like, nobody's eating breadsticks and being like, oh, I'm ready to go. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's... Yeah.
Breadsticks though, like, breadsticks seems like... what is it like? Because obviously, like Lee and Lee especially is like he runs a Tranmere Rovers as well, doesn't he? So he's like chairman there. So like I feel like it's a very corporate thing. You know what I mean? I feel like you go to like the corporate box at the football, and there'd be like some breadsticks on the table.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Fancy breadsticks.
It feels more like that. It feels like a fancy locker room if there's breadsticks. Do you know what I mean? Like
That's what
I
he's going
misread
for.
the situation. I was like, how am I supposed to get fired up for my match of breadsticks?
you ignored the tablecloth and the candles and the music playing in the background.
Yeah, it did create a nice ambiance.
Yeah.
So I will give him that.
Come on, Lee, give the people what they want. Give the people what they want. Just hire Nina Samuels. Like, even if she's not wrestling, just pay her a fee, get her to bake for the locker room. Easy, all right? Well worth the cost.
Incredible
Yeah.
cake.
No, can't disagree. I can't disagree. The next one is the next one's the other one that I think is the only like dirt one on this list. We're not talking in the ring. We're talking either people arriving or people leaving. Who has the worst dress sense?
Ooh, everyone.
Everyone. People either make a real effort or they come in what looks like their pajamas. But the thing is, I would say, okay, if you're going to work, don't wear your pajamas or gym kit and stuff. However, there's a lot of travel. But annoyingly, some of the girls make it look really good. And I'm like, God damn it. That annoys me more because I know I can't pull off trackies and a fucking hoodie. I've got to go dressed to the nines. And they're going there and they, no makeup, look absolutely stunning. Hoodie, joggers, and I'm just seething with jealousy going, for fuck's sake, but 8 layers of makeup on. But so yeah, some of the girls come in looking so comfortable and I can't be mad. Yeah. I'm jealous.
Yeah. That's fair. No, I get it. I mean, you're talking to someone who like has worn band t-shirts and jeans their whole life, so I have no say on dress sense. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm wearing.
Exactly. Like. That's literally since I was like 13. That has been my entire style. So
yeah, absolutely, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, we're with you.
I'm glad. I sometimes feel like it's just me, but again, that's like the feel like when you're not an adult yet, right? Because you like still wear the same thing you have done for like 15 years.
Absolutely.
Well, funnily enough, like I think that the majority of wrestlers' wardrobes consist of trackies and trackies, jeans, and free t-shirts.
Yeah, each other's merch.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. I was going through my drawer the other day. I don't think there's a single item in there that I've bought. I think it's all just freebies of sponsors or other wrestlers or whoever.
You're a bum.
Yeah, I think you kind of get just accustomed to it, don't you?
Yeah.
You just kind of get used to everybody's just kind of slumming it, and especially like you said with the travel as well. Like it's especially if you're going on trains and planes and what have you. It's you don't want to be in jeans or a suit. Like it's so tiring.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you rock up to a venue 10 hours before your match and
in a crinkly suits that stinks.
You just want to be comfy.
Sprayed links all over yourself 1,000 times to kind of hide the BO. No, that's awful.
No, I get it. You just want to be comfy. Like, yeah. And also, like, do you ever like try and kiss up though? Do you ever like, you're like, I don't know, for an example, like, you're like, Lycos is on this show. I'll wear my Lycos shirt because he'll like that.
I don't own a Lycos shirt. If he gave me one for free, I'd sell it on eBay.
I don't think I've ever been the person to kiss up.
No.
If someone tells me if they compliment me on something or they like something about what I'm wearing and go, I'm going to do that, I have this rebellious thing in my head that goes, okay, now I've got to wear the opposite. I don't know what it is. I have this thing that I'm like, fuck you energy. I'm like, no. I think for my whole...
I will prove you wrong.
But my whole childhood, I never fit in. And then obviously your teenage years, you try and fit in. And then in my adulthood, I've realised that I actually feel more comfortable not fitting in.
Yeah.
So if I start to look like other people or wear things that other people wear, I don't like it. It's weird.
Yeah. No, like my partner says that to me all the time. She's like, "Am I weird?" I'm like, "Yeah, but like that's good, right? That's the good thing. Who wants to
You
not
need
be weird?
weirdness.
Yeah.
You need weirdness.
Weirdness is the best thing. No, I love that. I love that. The next one's on the opposite end of the spectrum because we're talking about a world where it's a weekend. You've forgotten your gear for a show. And you've got to borrow someone's gear in the locker room. But we're talking one size fits all. You can literally pick whoever you want. Whose gear do you look at and you're like, I could definitely pull that off?
Jean Money. Every time I'm like, God damn it, I'm gonna come out with just nipple tape and that's it. And just be like, ah.
I was gonna say you go like nipple tape like the full 9 yards.
Yeah. I literally look at it and go, God damn it. Because when I came back from the pandemic, I went, I'm just gonna be me. I don't give a fuck anymore. And I thought, well, over 18 shows could be fun. And then the first show I came back, I saw jeans or his nipple tape where I was like, God damn you.
And then you realised I don't want to be me, I want to be Jean Money.
I want to be Jean Money. Yeah, for me, it would be him, hands down.
Yeah.
I'd have to go with either, maybe like a Pentagon's
Nice.
gear, because like it just looks so cool,
You
right?
go Pentagon and I go with Jean Money.
Yeah, Jean Money and Pentagon. Yeah.
The tag team we never knew we needed. You wouldn't go for like a Session Moth look? Again, we mentioned her.
I was going to say, I like her flashy shoes. I get quite jealous of them. So, yeah, and she's in pyjamas.
Oh no, I meant Mark. I think Mark would pull off the Session Moth.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looks comfortable,
It
so
does
if
look
nothing
really
else.
comfortable.
Like, I'm very envious of any wrestler that can turn up to a city and actually just buy their gear in that city, So, like, like Roman Reigns would only have to carry a glove with him, and the rest he could just, get at the venue.
I've left my glove at home.
Yeah, like, oh no, I needed to pack one thing, and that's it. But no, just go to Salvation Army, pair of black camos.
Easy, yeah. Everywhere has it.
Somebody else's boots, happy days.
Yeah.
It's easy peasy.
No, brilliant. I love that. The next one I've added just because like you guys are on and it's a couples thing. Duncan can answer if he wants. I'm not sure he'd like the answer though. That could be an interesting answer. But the next one, because it's a couples thing, and because we're going to dish some dirt here, the next one I've added specifically for you guys and for any future couples that come on, I guess. So who in the locker room would you, like, above all others, absolutely not let your partner date?
All of them.
Oh, who would I not let you date? Like, I know who I would set him up with if
Oh, go
I was
on.
going. Ginny,
Yeah.
100%. It's always been Ginny, because she's just absolute, elegant, beautiful woman with a good heart. She's my best friend. So I go, yeah, you can look after him.
As long as Gunther's okay with that though, right? Like.
I don't think he would be, but he'll be fine.
Something tells me you might not be.
Okay, he's too busy.
He's always on the road. It's fine. Whatever.
Exactly, he's on the road all the time. He wouldn't know.
Oh, brilliant. Amazing. The next one is again, we're in this hypothetical world where, again, this is interesting now because you say about the antisocial thing, so I'm intrigued even more. So everyone in the locker room has invited you to a party on the same night. You can, of course, only go to one party. You can't be everywhere at once. Who's are you going to? Who in the locker room, whose party do you need to be at? Who's the one you need to go to because it's going to top all the others? Or it's going to be
It really
the most...
depends who's in that locker room. If it's every wrestler ever.
Yeah. Well, let's say it's only Brit Rest.
Okay.
Let's say we're only talking indies here. So the guys and girls on the scene at the moment.
Oh, and I've only got to pick one.
Yeah, you got to pick one. You can't please everyone. You've got to go to only one party.
Will.
Yeah?
Yeah, Will's a good host.
Will's, Will is wonderful. Do you know what? After OTT, most times that he's there, he'll invite everyone to his suite because he's a big superstar now.
I was going to say, yeah.
He'll everyone to his room. He'll get loads of pizzas that he will pay for, and he'll host it. And the cutest thing is, the last time we went there, he remembered that I had a gluten intolerance, so he ordered me my own gluten-free pizza.
Oh, lad. What a legend.
And it just, do you know what?
Not even your own mum remembers that you have gluten intolerance. She comes round with cakes all the time. She's like, here you go, don't you want one? And she's like, Mum, I can't eat these.
I
like,
haven't eaten them since I was 17. I can't eat this. I said, oh, you'll be fine. But yeah, Will's a really good egg. He's a good person. He's a lot of fun. And, so definitely Will.
Yeah, Will's a good egg. And yeah, he does. It's hilarious. I remember who was there? It was like Robbie X, Aussie Open, Will, us, somebody else.
That was the night that Robbie came back on carbs because he'd been dieting so well.
He'd been paleo or something, hadn't he?
He hadn't eaten anything. His skin was
keto,
beautiful. He was just chiseled. And then we fed him pizza.
I was gonna say, you talk about Will and his kindness.
Dad, it'll be fine, son. Eat it up.
Talk about Will and his kindness, but he ruined Robbie X's diet. So.
Yeah. With kindness.
Yeah,
with kindness in his heart. He was like, I bought this pizza for you, you will eat it. You know, it was, no, it wasn't like that at all. But it was funny because afterwards we realised, we bought so much pizza. Like there was
so many left.
Yeah, we didn't even finish it. Yeah, I think he bought me a tray of chicken wings just to myself. And I was like,
you took some home, right, though? You took the pizza home, right? You
couldn't take it on the plane.
Oh, yeah, you got to put through customs and stuff. Yeah,
with our Domino's. Get it through security.
No, I think security would understand. They'd be like, oh, Domino's, yeah, all right, that's fine. We'll make an exception.
We should have offered them a slice and then they would definitely
bribe them with pepperoni.
That's the thing I've never understood about like plane travel is the fact you can have food and stuff in your suitcase, but not in your bag. But it all goes on the same fucking plane.
Well, it depends. Right. So, and this is what I found when I was going out to Ring of Honor because I used to take a food bag with me. So. I would take, so if you have porridge just as dry oats, it can go through. But if you have porridge mixed with anything, even if it's just water, but it's settled, they class it as a liquid and they won't let you take it. There's been times where I've cried because I've had to throw away Tupperware tubs of porridge because I'm like, I made that so lovely. I put extra peanut butter in there and they're throwing it in a bin or something like that. But for the most part, you can take like a lot of things through. It's anything like yogurt or anything that can be considered a liquid. They're not happy with.
I was going to say, Mark, I would feel sympathetic if it wasn't for the fact that I'm kind of grossed out by the fact you make porridge that far in advance. Just sitting there like a rock in a Tupperware.
I'm so glad someone else sees it. I can't eat cold porridge or porridge that isn't just made.
Yeah.
Like porridge.
It goes hard so quickly as well. I can't even imagine what it's like after a couple of hours.
It's kind of more of solid, but the way and this is where we do have a difference, right? So pretty much from the age of 18, I moved out at 18, right? So any food that I bought was simply for the sake of protein, carbs, here's my healthy fats, right? Whereas Vic is very, mothering, very I like to make a meal, it's,
I like
throw flavor in it and really, making almost like a production out of it. Hey, look at what I've made you.
Yeah.
And it's I'm just kind of like the meathead where I'm has it got enough protein in it? Do you know what I mean? It's, so a lot of the time, I don't eat for the taste. I just eat because I need slow digesting carbs and I need some energy. And because I fast for 18 hours a day as well, I think I want my porridge. I want porridge. And I like flapjacks. So the way I justify it in my head, I'm it's just kind of mushy flapjacks.
It's raw flapjack, isn't it? It's raw flapjack.
That's it, yeah.
You're not selling me on it. You're not selling me. I don't think you wouldn't get very far in the.
I don't care. It's my breakfast. Leave me and my breakfast in peace.
Nina Samuels is going to be in fits when she sees this. He's not having anywhere near my kitchen. No.
She is more than I'm more than happy to let her cook my meals for me.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh, it wouldn't be bad, would it? I've always said if I had enough money, I wouldn't put on a wrestling show. I'd put on the Great Brit Rest Bake Off. And just see the chaos ensue. And knowing this now, Mark, you're definitely invited. This is happening.
Mark has made
porridge. It's been set out for 45 minutes. Oh, that would be glorious. Glorious.
Amazing. That would be amazing.
Well, the last one on the dish is it's a nice one. You can obviously, I'm going to say you can't say each other. You've got to say someone different because saying each other would be too obvious. Who would you pick? And again, we'll say Brit Rest. We'll keep it indie wrestling. Who would you pick to be your partner in the zombie apocalypse?
Oh, Rampage Brown.
Yeah, the muscle.
Yeah.
You want a
Rampage.
big, angry bastard with you, you know, who's going to, you know, cave some zombie heads in and, you know,
Yeah.
Would you-
get away.
Would you help him out though, or would it be like a feed him to the wolves kind of situation?
I think he and I would just
Give
get
me a
on.
good meal, wouldn't he?
Yeah, if you
He'd
were...
put bay for a bit.
If you were going to eat a human, you'd want to eat somebody like a Rampage Brown, like, you know, high protein content, you know,
Good
content.
level of
But,
protein in that one.
yeah, but I also think as well, it'd just be fun to be stood back to back with him, you know, all like, you know, geared up, like, come on, zombies, you know. So.
You say back to back, but there's
Yeah, it would be. It'd be more like back to his ass, you know.
Yeah.
So as long as he doesn't fart, happy
That's a
days.
good one. I'll pick a girl. I'll go with Lizzie.
Oh,
She's feisty as shit, and she'll come up with some
You
really...
want to come here?
Fuck you, mate.
Mate, come on in, you zombie cunt. I have ya.
I was gonna say if the fighting doesn't work, the accent probably will.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
She's feisty as hell. I love her. So,
Few
yeah,
things more terrifying than the Scouse accent. The zombies would be like, "Fuck no, shit." I love the impression though. I can't wait to see how that goes down. That was.
Every time I see her, we both end up doing it, don't we? Mace.
Yeah,
I love it.
we have a lot of impressions of random people that we've never done in front of them. So
I think we've done it in front of Lizzie a few times, but I don't know whether she sees it as an impression of her or we're just being
yeah,
weird.
like what is that?
Well,
Yeah.
I've got to ask now. Who's the best impression that you do? Like, who can you really impersonate?
You could be Jay Briscoe.
Time man up. Like I managed to do like a good Briscoes, like because I thought they were great, like you know they were genuinely lovely people. So I'd hang around them and I'd listen to their voice. So you kind of got Mark Briscoe who kind of talks a little bit more like this. Time for some redneck kung fu. It ain't got yo Mark, down, yo, so that. You know that's how he kind of talks. He kind of talks more in his chest, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, we do. We have a bunch of random impressions.
The Scouse was very good. It was a very good Scouse. I'll tell you what. It
It's
was.
like the only bit we can say there was Mace, fucking cunts.
I was gonna say that there's that certain thing, isn't there, with accents where like some you can only do if you're saying a certain thing, and then otherwise you're like.
One thing I've noticed, especially with Evo, is there's something about the Scouse accent that when they say my name, Mark, it's almost like they're coughing up phlegm, like Mark, how are you, brother? It's like they're like choking on their own spit. You know?
Are you okay, Liz?
Yeah, like okay, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah.
Gosh, brilliant.
Amazing. I love that. Well, we're going to end with one other closing feature that's a more like sort of Mr. and Mrs. style thing. But before that, I wanted to chat about 2024, about your upcoming year, because, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems as an outsider viewing it, especially since the pandemic, it feels like you guys have been a lot more like sort of selective with your bookings, like where you wrestle each weekend, like every other weekend, wherever it may be. Has that been like a conscious decision from you guys to like want to sort of not necessarily slow it down, but be more picky about where you necessarily choose to be?
Yeah, I mean, so the thing with the pandemic was like as soon as we were at home, we were very conscious of we don't know how long we're at home for, but we do know that there are going to be those that see this as a time to take the foot off the pedal and those that see it as a time to really ramp up and go. So we made such a conscious effort because we were under contract with Ring of Honor at the time that they were taking care of us. So I wanted to be the best asset that I could be coming back. So I realized that I had an unhealthy relationship with fear. Like I allowed fear to stop me in so many different opportunities that I've had across the years. So I had to confront that and I had to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So I went on this very, spiritual journey where I would do things that would purposely make me feel uncomfortable. Like I remember I woke up one morning and said, one of my heroes, a guy called David Goggins, former US Navy SEAL, had this crazy challenge, which was you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours straight. And I woke up on the Friday morning and I said, look, by the time I finish this will be the Sunday morning. Now I can either wake up on Sunday and think I'm a pussy for not doing it, or I can wake up on Sunday and be proud of myself because anybody that I think does that is a bad motherfucker. So I made that choice and I was like, okay, take it one step at a time. So I, go for run 1 and then wait a few hours. I was like, okay, I'll go for run 2 and so forth. And then before you know it, you're 48 hours in, you're like, shit, I've done it. And it was mind blowing for me. Or like, doing things like cold water immersion and getting used to being in an uncomfortable situation, but learning how to breathe through it, and different things. So when we, around sort of July 2021 was our first real booking back. It was for OTT. I saw it as, okay, we're going to take a few selective dates because we need to get warmed up to return to Ring of Honor. And then by the end of that year, Ring of Honor, the writing was on the wall. They, let everybody go. They had to move on. And I'm just so grateful that they took care of us as well as they did, because they didn't have to. And there's very few companies that would continue to take care of their talent in through that situation. So I was nothing but grateful for that. And I was super gutted that I didn't have the chance to repay them, for them taking care of us. So we tried to be a little bit more selective. And then when Ring of Honor fell through, because that was kind of in a lot of ways our light at the end of the tunnel, of like, right, well, that's what we're getting back to. And then when that was gone, we were like, well, what are we doing now? We're just kind of back at, where we were, pre-2019, do we want to be wrestling everywhere? And like, especially as well, I'm a little bit older now, so I just wanted to be conscious of, like I said earlier, like this year will be 18 years in that I've been doing this. So I'm very conscious that the majority of my career is probably behind me. So whether I don't want to be one of these guys who's still going when he's 50 and 60, unless I'm making, I'm in a very
Ric
different...
Flair money.
Yeah, like if I'm in a polar opposite, situation, then, fair enough. But if it's a case of that, you don't want to be in a position where you're still just going from payday to payday, working the odd, one show here or there. So, I kind of saw it as like, look, I just want to have some good memories, some good times. I want to create some art. And I think that doing, at some point, wrestling does become a job. It can very much feel like, okay, I'm here doing this and, I love doing it, but I don't want to have a bad relationship with wrestling. Like we do this because we love it. And I wanted to get to a point where I was just happy doing what we do, and we could, create that kind of, like I said, like that art form again. So I think that, we were a lot more conscious of not doing as many shows. And, that's no disrespect to any, particular promotion out there. It was just our choice that we weren't going to do as much, and we were kind of try and make what we did do mean more.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And obviously with everything in the pandemic, we were kind of thinking we wasted so many opportunities where, because we're unsociable fuckers, we haven't been able to, and we've got kids, we can't go out after shows, we can't make the effort to go and see people. We do live in the sticks and everyone else lives in big cities like Bristol, London, that kind of thing. So now we wanted to go back and make memories with the people that we haven't made memories, we haven't, little things like taking pictures backstage at shows. I never did that pre-pandemic because you worry that you don't want to break kayfabe. You want to be respectful for everyone. And usually everyone's okay with it. And if they're not, they're very respectful and say, I'm not cool with taking pictures. And that's fine. But it is so much more about living in the moment, because with this job comes so much anxiety and so much worry. And, you get depressed because, you might feel you have a bad match, or you watch yourself back and you think it's a good match and you're like, oh my God, what have I done? It's like, it's really difficult mentally. And I think for both of us, with you especially, like overcoming fears and stuff, and I was doing my own thing as well, you want to attack it with a fresh mind and a really healthy mind. And I think I want to give a gift to my past self where I was too nervous to do things, or too nervous to take pictures with everyone, or tiny things like that. I want to go in and go, I'm going to make the absolute most out of this experience. It is work, but it's also pleasure. And I've got to remember the 12-year-old kid that I was, that was begging to do this and wanted this to be her dream. And now I'm doing it. I've got to give her the gift of enjoying the moment. So I think now we're picky because, sometimes it might be a ridiculous round trip where we're going to be in the car for 8 hours and we think, oh my God, this is going to be a nightmare. It eats into our week. We won't be able to stay there very long. It's not worth it because of all of that, and not be able to enjoy the day wholeheartedly. Whereas, with things like Progress, it's easy, drop the kids off, it's on the way, we can go there, make the most of it. I love Camden, it's like a second home. So yeah, it's just about being a little bit more picky and making those memories really count.
One thing years ago, I remember when just before Chris Travis passed, one thing that he said that has always stuck with me was that he got to wrestle his heroes. He got to wrestle people that he idolized. He got to wrestle in front of packed out houses. He got to do so much cool shit, and all he ever did was worry about what was coming next. Or, he was living in here rather than living in the moment, and he regretted that. And that's always stuck with me, and especially coming back from the pandemic, because I don't think any of us ever thought that the world would be at a point where it gets shut down like that. So I think that we suddenly realized how much we've taken for granted. So we've just tried to use the past few years to actually, okay, well, let's be a little bit more selective, but let's spend the rest of the time, making more of an effort to go and see friends or family, or take our kids and do this or that, or whatever it might be, and try and just kind of like live and enjoy the moment. And nowadays, especially, since Jay Briscoe died, like one of my driving factors to come out of the pandemic was I'm going back to Ring of Honor, and I want to work with Briscoe because I loved them. I thought they were great in the ring. And when he passed, I was like, man, that sucks.
That was really difficult.
So before every match, I'm always very conscious of enjoy this now, because you don't know when it won't be there. And I see it a lot now, especially with the younger guys that they're in the same position that I was when I was at that stage of my career, where they're worrying about this or worrying about that, and I'm like, let just fucking enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? Like you just gotta you gotta stop worrying, because a lot of the time, like, your worries are bullshit. Do you know what I mean? Like you can worry about something all you want, but that doesn't mean to say it's gonna happen. You've gotta fucking live in the moment and learn to appreciate it and just be grateful for it. Do you know what I mean? Because like Vic said, like, when you're a kid, you would have died to have been where you are now. And
now you're moaning about it. Like, shut up.
No, I love that. Like, that's the thing is, like, you mentioned like the ROH stuff, and that was something that, like, one of the things most out of all the time we've been in the podcast, one of the things that most really stuck with me was we had Session Moth on. And she talks about how the fact that obviously, like, just before the pandemic, she got signed to ROH, and then she never got to wrestle signed for ROH because they shut down after the pandemic. It was like that. She signed, the pandemic hit, she never got to wrestle for them. And she was like, coming out of it, it was sort of like, almost like you said, Mark, like, about of like, what have I been working towards? If like she had the mindset of like, maybe I'm just destined to be an indie wrestler. And then it gets to that stage where you're like, well, hang on, I'm an indie wrestler, and you've got to turn that mindset into the positive and like look at the good in all the good in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you think like what we actually do is badass. Do you know what I mean? We get to travel the world.
On someone else's dime.
Yeah, so fuck being tired. Like, if you're, when we got to wrestle in Spain back in September, and of course we get there, we're knackered, and I'm like, screw it, I don't care that I'm tired, let's just go out and see something, because we've never been to Alicante before, and where we were staying was up in Valencia, and fortunately our flight was late out on the Sunday, so we had an entire day, so we got them to drop us down to Alicante early, and we just went and sat on the beach, and went and ate some sushi and just tried to enjoy it. And I remember just like, I took my swim trunks. I was like, I'm going in the sea. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm getting in that sea. And like, even when I'm now, like, I've been doing a few shows for IWN down in Hastings.
Yeah. Oh, just as nice as Alicante. I mean, I used to live in Brighton. I used to live in Brighton, like an hour down the road from Hastings. So I can confirm to you, Hastings, Alicante, same level, really.
Identical.
Just as.
Where we live far away from the sea, so like as soon as I'm there, the venue's just a stone's throw away. So every time I'll sit on the beach, I do some breath work, and I go and even if it's just for a minute, I go and dip my toes in the sea, because I love the sea and I love being on a beach, and it's just making the most out of those opportunities, because you always think, I'll do it next time, and then next time might never come. So
last time we said that, we were in Vegas, and our plan was flying in, doing the biggest pay-per-view for Ring of Honor, really exciting times.
So how's this? So I was going to wrestle Roosh for the Ring of Honor Championship at their 19-year anniversary. And as our plane hits the tarmac...
Main event.
Yeah, airplane mode gets switched off, shows are cancelled, COVID is
Everything's shut down.
So
as the plane lands?
As the plane lands. So we get the notification through, so we're like, okay, well, our flight... I think we got in on maybe the Thursday, and our flight wasn't until, like, the Monday. So we were like, okay, well, what do we do? So we filmed some, what was it, like the no fan kind of things in the venue, and
that was the last time we worked for Ring of Honor. It was Jay Lethal, and it was great. It was so much fun. We really enjoyed it, but we were panicking at the time. We were going to spend some time in Vegas. We were going to do a whole fear and loathing thing of going back and forth to Cali and back. And
we were going to rent like a Mustang and drive through the desert down to California. It was like 4 hours away.
Find some mushrooms, find some weed.
Go hang out, and, then come back. But because we were freaking out, we were like, look, our kids are at my parents' house, so if all flights get cancelled,
you can't get home. I need to parent.
So fortunately, our good friend Caitlin, who works in the office, she got us an early flight back, and we were so busy worrying about just getting back.
Panicking.
We left early, we got back, and like flights weren't even cancelled for maybe another month or so. So we were like, and that was like the last time that we saw everyone. That was the last time that we were all together. So that's why I think it's so important that you make that, like, the opportunity will pass.
Yeah.
So you have to make the most of it while it's there.
Have you not been back to Vegas since? You not had the chance to go back since?
I haven't been back to America since.
No.
Got to get back. You got to get you back there.
No. I haven't been back in 4 years.
So it's so much.
Yeah, it's gutting, man. It's and especially as well because we felt like we were on such a run. Like we had some cool stuff coming up.
Yeah.
I was buzzing for it, and it was like, yes, here comes what you feel like you've been working for, and then that goes, and it's like, okay, well, I guess you're back to doing what you do, and that's cool. But it also kind of felt that because we'd been gone with Ring of Honor, that this whole new group of guys had come through and had basically replaced us. So now it feels like, while we are selective with bookings, it's also in certain ways harder to kind of get back in with certain bookings because they've got used to not having you there.
Yeah, they've got used to like a new roster, new regulars and stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, they get comfortable with their roster and they have a good relationship for the fans. So like, it is part selfish that we're like, well, we want to be a part of it too, and it's like, well, I've only got so much money and I've got so much time and there's so much people to put on this.
Yeah.
So it is finding your way again, but it's it's a road that I think we knew that we were going to travel. As soon as we lost Ring of Honor, we were like, right, okay, let's go back into England again. Let's figure this out. And we knew it's going to be a bit difficult going here, there, and everywhere, figuring out childcare again, all of that. But it's one that we're happy to do because we love it.
I was going to say, would you guys say like, because again, like all the what ifs can pop into your mind of like what might have been sort of thing. But like, would you guys say professionally at least you're like happy with where you are now and like, and not necessarily that you don't want more, but that you're content with the situation as it is at the moment?
If my career was to end tomorrow, I'd be grateful that I got to do what I got to do, because I remember being, like a kid at school where, people would say, you've got to pay attention in class, Mark, because you need to grow up and you need to get good grades and you need to get a good job. And I was like,
that sounds horrible.
Yeah, I was like, none of this shit interests me. I'm going to be a pro wrestler. And everybody laughed. There was only two people who believed in me. And one was my form tutor and one was my drama teacher, right? And they both saw something in me where they were like, no, he's going to get it. Like, he will do it, and everybody else laughed like, yeah, of course, you're going to be a wrestler, but really, what are you going to do? And then you go through that, and then you go through all of these points, and then you get to travel the world. And I got to go to Japan. I got to go to America, Canada. I got to wrestle at Madison Square Garden. I got to wrestle at Wembley SSE. We've done, shows up and down the country in front of packed houses. We've got to wrestle our heroes, people who I grew up watching. Like I remember in 2005, 2006, being, my first real year in the industry, like just watching Kenta versus Bryan Danielson. I was like, man, one day I want to wrestle Kenta. And then last year I got to wrestle him. And I was like, man, like that's mad. If I'd quit years ago, like that opportunity would never have happened. Like you just don't know what's going to pay off and what doesn't.
What a time, by the way, to wrestle him as well. Like, that's mad in itself, right? Like,
absolutely, yeah. And it's great as well because I feel that I'm the best version of myself now that I ever have. So it's not like I wrestled him when I felt like I could give more. Like I wrestled him at a point where, okay, we're both seasoned pros now. We can actually go out there and have a good match. And And that's the thing is like, you never know, like you can, Yeah, I
But
remember.
I think it's like keeping hungry as well is so important. So like having that, it's a mixture of having the gratitude, being thankful. I mean, you've got to be content, because I think for your mental health, you've got to be like, I'm really proud of where I've got to. But I think you've still got to have that hunger of, this isn't the last step. And I think even if we were main eventing Mania or, you know, on AEW or going back to Ring of Honor, whether it be bigger shows, bigger audiences, bigger matches, bigger stories, I think you've got to have that hunger to always want to create more and better whatever you've done previously.
But also with it, you got to appreciate what you have.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, well said. Well, that brings me to the end of the podcast. Just a couple more questions from me before we get into our final features, like really quick fire, so it'll be nice and quick. But the final one for me is the fact that, again, we're recording this just after Valentine's Day. It's all romantic, love's in the air, all that bollocks. But I was going to say, again, apart from the Great Brit Rest Bake Off, I've always said if I had enough money, the one show I'd want to book is like the Brit Rest Couples Tournament. So I've got to ask you while I've got you here, who are the couples in Brit Rest you've got your eye on? Who are the ones you'd love to face in the ring together?
Ojimo and
Amira.
Yeah,
definitely. I absolutely adore that girl. So I would love to slap the shit out of her. So,
because if you said that in any other walk of life, it would sound weird, right? But in wrestling, that's perfectly normal.
She's awesome. She's got such a great work ethic and such a positive mind. She looks great. She's great in everything she does, but she's got that hunger. She wants to know more. Like, I remember going to a show and she came just to hang out. She bought, she was doing stuff for her platform and she was like, I've got loads of outfits. Let's do some shots. Let's do this. And she wants it. She's so hungry for it. Yeah. And so
Oku's all right as well. Like,
Oku's all right. I mean, he's good, isn't he?
he's all right, but no.
He's amazing. He really is amazing. And I think, they're going to turn into something huge. They really are. Yeah. And it would be awesome to be able to work them, because I think we could tell some really cool stories.
That'd be good. You're going to make it a triple threat, right? Because I thought you'd say Ospreay and Alex as well.
Yeah, she'd beat me to a pulp.
Like, that's why you didn't pick her. You're like, no, that's too...
Oh, yeah, that's going to be incredible. I mean, that as a three-way would be amazing.
Yeah.
So maybe that as a three-way,
The chaos would be incredible, wouldn't it? The chaos of it would be...
brilliant. Yeah. It'd be absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant. Well, let's get into our final feature. Like I said, it's sort of like a quick fire Mr. and Mrs. So it's about you guys. We've got some wrestling questions, some non-wrestling related questions as well. So we asked as well, in addition to earlier, who takes the longest to get ready? And you said Mark. So it's out of the two of you, not in the ring, who takes the longest to get ready?
Who do you think?
I would say you, Mark, I think, to be fair.
Really?
This is what he looks like all the time at 3 a.m., 3 p.m., doing the school drop-off. This is Mark.
It takes a lot of effort to look like this.
I've got to get up and put my lashes on and straighten my hair and and I'm always listening to music when I get ready, so I dawdle. And
plus you need about 10 coffees before you consider doing anything. You literally wake up, it's like, coffee now, I need my coffee.
Yeah. Pretty much.
That does, 10 coffees does take time.
Yeah.
Brilliant. The next one I feel like we answered just coincidentally earlier in the chat as well, because it's who's the better chef, but I assume it's Vicky.
Clearly, Vic, if you want chicken and rice, come to me, I'm your man. But if you want an actual meal,
It's like, can I just say, just for thing, this is completely unseasoned.
There is pink Himalayan salt on it.
That looks like it could just be the porridge.
It's cold, and it's just no. So me on that one.
I was trying to shovel it down before this started. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt your dinner. I feel bad. But looking at it, maybe I shouldn't feel bad.
He's always eating. He eats like 8 times a day, I swear. So don't worry about that.
That's fine. Vicky, what's your signature dish? What's your signature dish, Vicky? What's your go-to? Let's say everyone's
roast dinner.
Roast dinner.
I like a roast dinner.
Shepherd's pie.
Farmer's pie.
Yeah. There's always a different type of pie.
What's a farmer's pie? Is that just veg?
No.
Oh.
It's so farmer's pie is, I think, isn't shepherd's pie with lamb?
Shepherd's pie is lamb, cottage pie is beef.
So it's like a cottage pie, but I put a secret ingredient in it.
Farmers.
Which sounds
love.
bad.
Love.
Love.
As love.
Yeah,
Seasoning
love.
of love.
And it's my mum's recipe.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's not my fault, it's my mum.
Yeah.
But that always goes down an absolute treat.
Nice.
So, yeah, anything like that. But if people say to me, I want steak and mashed potatoes, I'll do that, but I'll do it to the extreme.
Nice.
So.
Will you do it well though? Because we've had a few wrestlers, too many in my mind, on the podcast who say they like their steak well done, and it sickens me.
Oh, that's,
Medium rare.
who's doing that?
Oh, well, so off the top of my head, I can directly tell you Joe Lando and Anita Vaughan both have their steaks well done. And
We need
that,
to have a conversation with these
that's,
two.
yeah,
It's
maddening to me, maddening.
Yeah, it is.
Joe Lando as well, actually both of them, just so good in the ring, you wouldn't expect it. But
It's disappointing, guys.
it's a poor character
Disappointing in
trait.
your steak choice.
It's a poor character trait. The next one is this is a tough one for you guys because I feel like it could be both of you. But I want you to think about who your kids would say here. Who's the more fun parent?
Me.
Because he's very much still the mental age of our children.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, I have to be the bad guy. But I'm not very good at being the bad guy because they make me laugh so much. So it's one of those things where you have to go, I'm really mad at you, and you're like laughing so much behind your hand. But
Yeah, I mean, when your dad's a wrestler, it's, fun to be thrown on the bed and power bombed and, go out onto the trampoline or, like Vic says, like a lot of the time, the kids will suggest something. Like we'll go on a walk and Lily will be like, oh, look at that tree, Daddy. And I'll be like, shall we climb it? And she's like, yeah. So we both climb this tree, right? And whereas
I
Vic
have
will,
3 children. Not 2, 3.
I was going to say you're the fun parent because Mark's just the child.
Yeah, that's it. I'm the fun parent. He's just one of the kids.
No, I love that. The next one is, of course, you're wrestlers. You're up and down the road all the time. But who's the best driver?
Me.
You can't sit still, so he can't be a passenger. Because
Right.
he'll just sit there, just like, start cleaning the windows and changing everything all the time. No.
Yeah, the older I get, the more I realize I have so many undiagnosed, issues from childhood that, I can't sit still. And so at least when I'm driving, it gives me something to do, even if subconsciously. But just for perspective, shall we say, my beautiful wife Vicky here went to a gig a little while ago with her friend, and it was her first time driving in London by
Hates
herself.
London.
Why would you drive in London?
Thank you.
So she gets to she's going to the O2, and all she has to do is go through a tunnel, and then she's at the venue, right? And
Yeah.
Anyway, the tunnel's blocked.
Oh,
So
Blackpool Tunnel's a nightmare. Yeah.
Nightmare.
I get this phone call, and she's like, Mark, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, yeah, okay. She's like, I pulled over. Like, where should I go? And I'm like, okay, well, where are you? And she's like, I'm on the right-hand side of the road. I'm like, I don't know what road or which way you're facing. Like, where are you? And then basically they just kind of leave me on speaker while they have a mental breakdown in the car and start driving. So I'm like I'm like, okay, send me your location. You send me your location. Now I'm trying to find on maps. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe if you go this way. And she's like, is that to the right or the left? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, put it into your phone. You figure it out.
Geography really isn't my strong point at all. I'm like a drunk man in a cupboard. It's not good.
I mean, I would not drive in London. I think that was your first mistake, was trying to drive in London.
Yeah, never again.
I made the fatal monetary flaw of moving to London, and that's been like terrible for my bank account. But I don't need a car, because why would you ever drive in London? Like,
No.
Well, if you think about it, it's way cheaper than it is actually getting the train, Like,
oh, I know, but the inconvenience, like.
I mean, is it convenient or inconvenient? If you have your own car, you can fuck off whenever you want.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That is a fair point. You're at the. You're at the mercy
you've got to
of.
put your big boy shoes on and figure out how to.
I did not have any big boy shoes that day.
Who were you seeing?
Hollywood Vampires.
Oh, brilliant! I wanted to go to that, but I was too
Alice
poor.
Cooper and Drums, as you call them.
Yeah, I forget their name.
No, that's a great gig. Yeah.
Alice Cooper, Johnny Depp, Tommy Hendrickson.
Like mental supergroup, just the most bizarre supergroup.
Good. So good.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah, good choice. Good choice.
So it's worth it.
Worth it for the hassle. Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, the next one, obviously, you. The next one is an interesting because it's who cried the most on your wedding day? Yeah. Damn, I was hoping it would be the unobvious choice.
No,
And Mark's just a...
cries at Batman.
Yeah.
Hey!
You do!
I know. I cried when my dad died.
Yeah, that's
So,
good. That's
you know.
simple. You didn't cry when Jack was born.
No, I was happy. Why would I cry? Like,
It's overwhelming with emotion.
just so you know, I come from a family of stone cold psychopaths, right?
Yeah.
Like, let me put the thing. So my dad had been dying of cancer, right, for 6 months. When you think it couldn't get worse, it did. And I did not hear him moan or complain once. Like, he took it like an absolute trooper. Like, just such a strong soul. And I aspire to be like that, right? And it gets, so they said that this would happen. It's the Thursday of the Queen's Jubilee, right? And my dad, they said that we would lose, contact with him. And at some point during the day, he becomes vacant. He's just staring in one direction, right? And it gets to about 11 o'clock at night. My uncle, his brother's there. My mum's there and I'm there. And my mum just sits down. She's holding his hand and she's just saying, just go, Pete. It'll be fine. We'll be fine. Just go. And she points at me and she says, sit there. And the weirdest thing happened. I had this overwhelming sense of saying, you have to say these words now. And I sat down, I held his hand, and I said to him, Dad, I love you, but please be free. And as soon as I said that, his eyes closed, a tear rolled out, and he took his last breath. Wow. I was sat there holding his hand for half an hour. My mum and my uncle just, their demeanor doesn't change. They just carry on talking like we're talking now, right? And at some point, I'm like, okay, I can't really take this anymore. So, like, I go outside, I go for a walk, I call Vic, and before I make it to the end of the road, I'm in tears, right? I'm crying. And I go and there's this barn, in the village. It's like an old sort of...
Tithe barn.
Yeah, it's it's been preserved for hundreds of years, and I'm led on the wall outside, looking at the stars, just crying and wondering where my dad is now, and I go back to the house, and my mum looks at me and she goes, I'm worried about you, Mark. And I'm like, why? And she's like, because you've been crying. I'm like, yeah, my dad has just died.
That is...
cold. Why are you letting me go?
That is cold.
I'm allowed to be upset. Do you know what I mean?
That is cold. Yeah.
But like my mum and my uncle, like I think my uncle was even like, well, shall we make the call? It's like he's not even dead yet. Like
they're very stoic. They're farmers. They deal with death all the time.
Yeah,
it's
like
just
my uncle's been
thing.
a shepherd for pretty much all of his life. So he's had to deal with stressful situations and death. But yeah, like my family are just like, you pull your socks up and you get on with it. Do you know what I mean?
Unless it's Batman.
Yeah.
Listen, I can relate, right? Because in the Dark Knight Rises, when Michael Caine is crying over the graves of Batman's parents, saying, "I'm sorry, I let you down," that's heartbreaking. That was heartbreaking. I welled up. We were in the cinema, and I was like,
I was laughing
Alfred,
so
no, like. It's okay, Alfred, don't worry. She's like, haha, you cry at movies. I'm like, you cry when you watch reuniting, videos of, army vets reuniting with their kids. And
That's
you're like,
true.
I can't watch it anymore, Mark. It's so upsetting. Like,
That's true.
The juxtaposition of the two is, yeah.
Yeah, that's not more emotional than Michael Caine getting sad over the story that's not real.
I was emotionally invested.
Mate, I think
Good movie, god damn it.
really got you. It really, no, I get that. I understand that because again, I'm not much of a crier. But like similar to you, my like granddad passed away a couple of years ago from cancer as well. And like that's a shitter. Like that. Like it's tough to not feel emotion when shit like that happens. Like
Absolutely.
even for someone again like myself, not a crier at all. Like. Again, I'm going to sound like a dick here because you guys are really punk rock, but like I think the closest I've been to tears apart from that, like before that, was like in 2012 when My Chemical Romance broke up, and I was like, fuck. I wasn't crying, but I was like close. I was like, am I going to cry at this? Really?
A good band, man.
No, they are a good band. They are. But again, that's the sort of thing, isn't it? It's always the things you least expect.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they kind of got me. Yeah. But yeah, usually I'm way more emotional than him.
Well, that took again a couple of tangents I wasn't expecting, but we got a few more questions. These are the wrestling based ones now.
Okay.
So, who gets the louder pops?
Ooh.
I don't know. We walk out together, so it's kind of the same.
Yeah, but you get pops like ringside as well, don't you? You get like certain moments, don't you? If you get involved and stuff like.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you, because you are in the spotlight. It is you should be getting the bigger pops.
I'd say, I don't know. I'd say it's quite even between both of us.
Oh, sweet.
I'm lovely.
I do make the front row laugh quite a lot. So if you get front row tickets, you get you
get your money's worth.
Yeah, you get a ticket to the Vicky comedy show.
That's another great idea, right? A Brit Rest comedy show. That's another great idea for a thing.
Oh, that would be so good. I'd love to see Moth do comedy.
Oh, Moth would be great with comedy.
Really good at that. Yeah, definitely.
The next one is the next one goes back to what we said on the Dishing the Dirt thing about ring gear. Who would look best in the other person's gear?
I wear shorts and boots.
Yeah, no, fair, yeah.
My gear without a top.
No, that's fair. You got the jacket though, don't you? Like you like.
That's true.
That counts as part of it as well.
Sometimes,
just the jacket. Would I have to do the entrance as well?
I don't know, Mark. I think you can pull off Vicky's gear.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I mean, we have been tempted before as like on a Halloween show to dress up as each other.
Oh, that would be so good. That would be brilliant.
I get to beard up.
If anything, I'm disappointed you haven't done that yet. Like,
I'm quite disappointed.
If I were you, I'll be disappointed if after this chat you're not right on the phone to Lee McAteer suggesting that for Progress this October. Like,
damn it, Lee.
If this isn't happening, yeah. Put away the breadsticks. Book this.
I'm gonna start using the breadsticks as a weapon.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's it. Like deathmatch with the breadsticks.
Oh. You can't do that. She's got gluten intolerance.
Yes, amazing.
Definitely the way forward.
Speaking of which, Mark Andrews has like a terrible nut allergy, like to the point where I've been terrified of killing him by having a little snack. Do you know?
I did not know that.
Peanuts in the ring.
That's good to know. Yeah.
Smear peanut butter on the canvas and try and powerbomb him into it.
Can you imagine that? The logistics of you going out before your match. Hang on, guys. Spreading.
I think we just booked the weirdest death match ever, haven't we? Vicky Haskins versus Mark Andrews in a peanut gluten death match.
Some peanuts, so my.
Got like a baguette and some bag of peanuts up against each other.
Would win.
Yeah. Yeah. It depends how good.
A literal death match. Like, what have you done?
It depends how good your. It depends how good your aim is, though, with the peanuts, right? Throwing them, because like a baguette is far more easy to get in someone's face.
That's true. I think he might have the advantage with that one, unless I get a good slingshot ringside.
Oh, so much fantasy booking here. This is brilliant. I love it.
It's great.
I love it.
It's great.
The next one is there's only a couple more. The last one is actually so it's the classic. If you guys had to face off in a match, who's winning? Who's winning that battle?
You're better at being technical, but I'm a dirty fighter.
The low blow.
How it usually
There'll be nails in the eyes and everything. Oh, there'll be no legal shit with me. But
it regularly happens around the house where Vic will start trying to take me down, and then I'll see it as a opportunity to play. So then I start playing, and then it quickly becomes no, Mark, stop, no, ah. And then she just kind of gets into the fetal position on the floor. And
I do what I call a hedgehog. I just go, no. And then that's it.
Does that work? Is it effective?
Well, no, because he can pick me up and then just like powerbomb me somewhere, which is a bit annoying.
Not opening up the Vicky Haskins training school anytime soon.
Maybe not for the business.
This is what to do.
I teach you psychology.
Yeah.
Leave that to me. The wrestling is for him.
To be fair though, I do think because sometimes you'll threaten to put me on a sex ban, and then I'm like, okay, I'm like straight away.
Oh, and then your hands are tied.
That's good. So
yeah, in the ring, it's getting right near the end. Those closing sequences, and she's like, "Mark, no more sex," and you're like, "Fuck!" And it's like the what is it? It's like the finger poke of doom, isn't it? Then it becomes the finger poke of doom, which is just like that, and you got to lie down for the count.
Finger poke of doom. Yep.
Then I'll give you a poke of doom.
My lord. Not in the ring though, please. Like Edge and Lita was the most we need to see of that. We don't need any more of that. Like.
No, We don't need Edge and Lita Part 2.
We were joking a while ago of doing like a live sex celebration in the ring, and it just getting to a point where somebody interrupts and I'm just stood there with a cushion over my lap because I'm angry and I would do something about this right now if I could, but yeah.
To be honest, I think like again, just it would be hilarious, wouldn't it? It would be. I'm not sure where. I'm not sure where would let you get away with that, but.
And it's not necessarily where we could get away with it. It's almost like you don't. What is it? You don't ask for permission.
You ask for forgiveness.
You ask for forgiveness. It would be one of those situations where they don't know.
But I'd want to do like just funny shit that like no one would expect. So like Vic starts like licking my toes or something, and I'm like super into it or something like that.
They're like, oh, that's what Mark likes. All right, okay.
Yeah, I'm just there like
letting out all your secrets.
I was going to say the time to film that would have been, again, during the pandemic when everyone was filming like those weird, wacky like matches from home that were just really bizarre. Like you could like film it at home, like home video style. Home video style. And then some really unexpected wrestler just bursts in the door.
Randomly.
Like, it's Ginny and Gunther. It's Ginny and Gunther burst in the door. I heard what you said.
Oh, forgive me, Gunther.
Oh God,
We were at their wedding.
I know. I'm just a maid of honour. They're fantastic people. They're such brilliant people. They really are.
And look at what you said about.
Oh, I love Ginny.
Yeah.
I miss that girl.
Oh,
God,
Ginny's great. Ginny was brilliant.
Just incredible.
Yeah. It's one of those people again. Like you think like. Just how far they've both gone, like, in terms of, watching them in front of, like, 200, 300 people or less in some occasions.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's crazy.
I met Gunther, I think, in, like, 2007, right? And he was not the performer he is now. He was not that good at all.
This is when he had his Lederhosen.
Probably.
And his little green haircut.
And I remember we were all just like, okay, like, who's this guy? And then he became who he is now.
Yeah.
And he's gone from strength to strength, and it's like, where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah.
But it was like somebody literally just came along and like blessed him with like this.
He's got a
talent.
great mind for it though.
Oh,
as well.
yeah.
Like he's so professional backstage. I mean, I'd go out to say he's probably the most professional guy that from the kind of era of when I started managing you in 2017 up until the pandemic. The way he holds himself. It's real top tier. It's lovely, and you can feel the ambiance of him. You can feel that he's there to do a job. He's a good guy. He's professional, but he's polite and
polite and respectful and good.
And talented on top of it.
It's very rare that you have all of those things.
It's not surprising he's got as far as he's got because you can see how hard he's worked, but also. Like physically, but in here as well.
Yeah.
So.
No, for sure. Big up Gunther. What a legend. Again, like, I always bring it back to like Riptide, but that's because I used to live in Brighton. But like, I think you're at it, Mark, as well. Like the Riptide Championship weekend.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
We only did one show for Riptide.
I swear you did.
I feel like it was that. I feel like you were in that, but I might be wrong. Maybe
we
I was
only
wrong.
did one show and I wrestled Chuck Mambo.
I thought that was that, right? That was that weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that might have been it.
But we only did one show. We literally did the Friday, and then we.
That was it then. Yeah, it was that weekend. So you did that weekend, and like, when he was Volta, Gunther, you faced Jonah Rock in that tournament as well, and like. They tore the house down, and I was like, "There's no way like he can get any better." And then he goes to like WWE, and he's like better, and I'm like, "How?" Like you think you're seeing him at his peak, but he's not even at his peak.
Yeah, no, I think there's a hell of a lot more to come from him as well. There really is. I think he's a real dark horse because I think because he holds himself so well, he's very respectful. He's not one of the like jokey lads in the back. But he was reserved, so you think, he's not around, the lads to get in and get bookings and stuff. He's done it all through professionalism, holding himself in a certain way, working on his craft, and just making himself the best product as possible.
Yeah.
Big respect.
Love it. Big respect. Well, that brings us nicely to the end of the podcast. There's only a couple more questions. This one is not from me, though, because we always end the podcast with a tradition where our last guest leaves a question for our next guest.
Okay.
So your question comes to you without context because I never reveal the wrestler because sometimes it can give it away. In this case, it doesn't, so I don't think it would have mattered if you knew who it was. But it's one that I'd like you both to answer, and you definitely won't have the same answer because of what the question is. So we'll start with Mark and then go to Vicky. But it's an interesting question. I quite like it. It's if you were a wrestler of the opposite gender, how would you present yourself in the ring?
I don't think that much differently than I currently am.
Without a beard and a top on.
Yeah, I'd probably put a top on for one, and
probably though, not a definite, not an absolute.
I mean, I guarantee nothing. You know, I might have a cracking set of tits, and I might want to show everyone. You know, so yeah, I might go the Gene Money approach.
Yeah.
I think Gene Money's got it made, man.
Either that or I'd be an absolute whore. I would, like, you know, I would wear scantily clad clothes, like, you know, a little skirt that, like, you know,
So
and only do moves
dress as
with
me.
Yeah, basically. Like, you know, but with even less clothes.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
you know,
Everything out.
yeah, I would drag women's wrestling back about 20 years.
Good for you. I don't know what I would be like if I was a bloke.
You tell me all the time. You use those filters from Snapchat.
Oh, yeah,
like,
I do.
"This is what I look like if I was the man."
It's fun. I've got a beard and tattoos face. I don't know. Jay Briscoe always holds a really.
You'd be Jay Briscoe.
I'd be Jay Briscoe. I'd be a mark for Jay Briscoe, and I'd want to be Jay Briscoe. I think he's wicked. He's. I mean, the way he looks is like bum chic. He looks ready to fight. He looks cool. He's authentically himself.
Yeah.
He's raw. He's real. I love people like that. So I think, because when you're in wrestling, you can kind of see now, especially like when we look at it, we can see who's influenced who.
Yeah.
So you can kind of go, I can see a little bit of Flair in you. I can see a little bit of Triple H in you. Or you're a Shawn Michaels fan, or like you like Roman Reigns. You've grown up with him. So it's interesting. I mean, I've always been really drawn to the Briscoes. I think they're brilliant, and so I think I would try and be Jay Briscoe.
So I've got to ask you this then, because obviously you can't say Mark because we're talking opposite gender. So which woman in the locker room would be the Mark Briscoe to your Jay Briscoe if you had to bring someone along with you for the tag team?
It would be Moth.
Yeah.
It'd be Moth.
That's a very different character for Moth as well.
I know. I think it was so funny. I think thing is, Moth's a real dark horse because obviously her character's so well built.
Yeah. And
people, it's so identifiable, but there's so much more to her.
Yeah.
She's so. I mean, like I say, she's a dark horse. She's very deep, and she's. She's like, I think like people overlook her, and she doesn't deserve that because she knows her shit.
Yeah.
She's very, very switched on.
Yeah.
And if you think she's an idiot, then you've only been caught in her trap. I mean, there is a part of it that's a very big idiot, but like
in wrestling,
the grand scheme.
We've become her parents. She's only a year or two younger than us. She'll come to us all the time and be like, "Mom, Dad, I don't know what to do."
I know, I love it. I think she's got, you know, characters in her pocket that I don't think she's shown anyone. I'd be really interested to,
She's great. She's like sort of like Gene as well, though, isn't she? Like you say, like the underdog in the sense that like they're sort of they're cast type into that character, right? This comedy character. But like you look beyond that and you see like the wrestling knowledge and the ability that's there, and you're like, they could be someone completely different if they wanted to be, like in the ring.
Yeah,
but like that's where I feel like wrestling can sometimes be a negative in that like typecast, because like you can see they're both brilliant wrestlers, but like they're just seen as like these comedy characters, but you can see there's so much more there than that.
Exactly. They're like character actors.
Yeah.
And it's like is it Gary Oldman, isn't it? You see him in one film and he plays it so convincingly. He becomes that character, and then you watch another film and you're like, oh my god, that's Gary Oldman. You don't realise it's I think, you know.
Have you ever seen Steve Carell in Foxcatcher?
Oh,
yeah.
It's like so polar. Like, yeah, because you think, oh, Steve Carell is a funny man. And then you see it in Foxcatcher and you're like, that's not Steve Carell.
The typecast can be really tough, can't it? Like, I always get it with literally anyone from Harry Potter. Like, I'm just like, I can't look past the fact that they're whoever in Harry Potter, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, but then you look deeper and you're like, okay, shit, like, they know what they're talking about.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, completely. And I think that, Moth kind of fits into that because, he's a character actor, but there's so much more than just Sasha Moth there.
Yeah. No, big up Moth. And all her children as well. Millie Mackenzie,
all of my
the rest.
grandchildren.
All the rest. Wait, if you're Moth's parents, does that mean Millie Mackenzie is your granddaughter?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. There's a lot of, I've got a lot of grandchildren now. I think she's mid-20s.
Yeah, she's got to be,
Hello, Duncan.
Duncan's back. I'll let you guys pay a bit of attention to Duncan because he's clearly after it. But I've just got one...
Always after it.
Smell my chicken, that's all it is.
He's like, you've not eaten it, it's still there, I want it. I'll have it.
He's the only one who wants it.
He'll take the bite, he'll be like, oh, this isn't even seasoned.
We'll eat my cold, bland chicken.
Yeah, he'll take the bite, he'll spit it out and be like, where's the seasoning, man? Come on, bit of pepper, like...
He's not that picky. I've seen his dog eat shit. He doesn't care.
And he enjoys it as much as your chicken.
Yeah.
That's the worry.
He does not care.
Amazing. Well, that is the perfect place to leave the podcast. Mark, Vicky, thanks so much for joining me on Valentine's Day. It's been very romantic. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. I hope you've enjoyed it.
It's been amazing, man.
Great. Thank you so much. Congratulations on all you've had going on and all you've done. And I can't wait to see what 2024 holds for you. But that leads us to my last question, which is very simply, if anyone sees you guys on social media, on a wrestling poster, at Progress, at IWN, at anywhere else in the country, anywhere else in the world, why are Mark and Vicky Haskins going to steal the show?
Because we are one of the kind performers, seriously. Like, we are coming into our primes now, right? You do not understand what we are capable of, and especially when you come to see us in front of a live audience, there is an energy with us that you do not get out of other performers. There is a sense of realism with us that you do not see in other individuals coming through at the moment. Right now, we are coming into our primes. If you thought we were good before, you have seen nothing yet. So keep your eyes peeled. Come check us out at a show. We would love to say hello, and we would love to put on an incredible night of entertainment for you.